Hello and welcome to Cathy Paints on Gen Con TV. I'm Cathy Wappel and we will be painting miniatures tonight. We're working on these two minis from Wizards of the Coast. These are their new frameworks models. They come on a sprue, they're plastic, they're easy to assemble with plastic glue, and these are the first two I've done. I've had a lot of fun with them. The Orc Barbarian he's been a lot of fun, and this is the Elf Ranger, which we're painting as a dark elf. Hi, Peter. How are you tonight? I saw you in the chat of the previous stream. That was that looked really interesting. I didn't get to watch all of it, but I am a fan of Terry Brooks, and it was really fun to see him. It was very fun to see him in an interview. I need to turn on my cup warmer. I have the ginger tea. This is my ginger lemon tea. Aw, I didn't even see that he said hi to me. Darn it. I had to eat. I had to eat dinner. Mm. Excuse me while I enjoy my tea. Your secret is safe. Oh, I did fangirl a little bit though. I was like, oh my god, it's Terry Brooks. This is amazing. And of course, Jim was like, who's he? Because he doesn't read. I mean, he reads, but he reads nonfiction. So I said, but it's Terry Brooks. It's sort of Shannara. It's the Shannara series. Blah 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 blah. Mhm. So yeah. So look at this beautiful overlay. I'd like you to take a moment and see what Tanel made for me. This beautiful overlay, and then I'm gonna mute my phone. That just whistled at me. So it says Cathy Paints all across the top, and then there's bricks on the border with little icons and stuff, and it's amazing. So now I have to get used to my camera being just this little area, and then my face cam is up in the corner here, up in this corner, and I'm used to it being down here in this corner. So yeah, that's fine. So what I wanted to do today, to get back to the actual painting, is I wanted to finish the non-metallic metal on his axe head, the reflections of light on there, and I wanted to touch up the antlers, these moose antlers. So that's what I'll be working on today. And also I may need to make a little bit of adjustment with my, do I need to zoom in on him? I need to make him bigger and be sure that he's properly focused. Excuse me for adjusting my focus. It's not you, it's me. So I just wanted to make sure that you could see all these crazy little fun scrolly details that are in these antlers that were sculpted in, because it's really neat. I have to lean closer to my monitor that's far away. MBA Hawk. I had to lean in for that one. MBA Hawk. Hi, welcome. Welcome to the stream. Thank you very much for the compliment. This is a Frameworks model from WizKids. That's their Frameworks D&D line. And so far, they're good. I also have a hill giant back there. Oh, out of reach, or I would show you. He's in a box still. He's not yet assembled. One of my streams, I think I was just going to take you through assembling and prepping one of these models. and I thought the hill giant would be a fun one to do. Earlier today, so I'm just gonna be distracted. Earlier today, I assembled this guy on my stream, and this is primed already. It's a resin model. The head was separate, so I had to file mold lines, and then I had to glue the head on, and I had to use green stuff to uh, fill the gaps around where the head meets the neck, which you can't see because I green stuffed those gaps, and if you do it right, you shouldn't be able to notice it, right? That's the key. And then I just primed him, and that's what I did on my earlier stream today, because Tuesday is my stream Tuesday. I stream on my own channel, Cathy Wappel, and then I stream on this channel in prime time. But to return to this guy, antlers, axe head, the axe handle, I think needs a little attention because I think that's just the primer. I haven't even painted it. This is just the primer with a little light dry brushing. I haven't done anything else to it. There's no shading on the underside of it at all. So yeah, definitely need to revisit that. Maybe maybe put a few darks in a few key areas. Oh, and I need to do the teeth in his mouth. I just noticed that. And the hilts of the swords, and maybe paint these. How is it? Every time I think I'm almost done, I'm like, oh, and I have to do this. And then I have to do this, and then this, and this. Oh, I'm not even close to done. What was I even thinking? You know what I need to do? I need to make gray. So I'm using a limited palette here. And part of that limited palette is purple. Purple and orange and phthalo green. I don't remember if I used blue at all. I don't think I did. So we've got, these are Reaper paints. The clear purple and the clear orange make an amazing brown. But if you add other colors to it, so I'm just going to get all these colors on my palette. And there's not a lot of room here on my palette for these colors. We're just going to put them in between other colors. It'll be fine. We'll just put some orange over here. Well, I know I need orange here, so put some orange here. But I'll need more orange over the course of the evening because we want to do leathers on the dark elf, assuming I finish Bullwinkle in time. Yes, the moose antler orc guy's name is Bullwinkle. He's Bullwinkle the moose. Let's get some green out here, and we'll get some magenta out here. I gotta shake my paints. This is what I'm doing. Shake my paints. One in each hand. I need magenta. I need green. Magenta and green make fantastic. This is the phthalo green too. So the Reaper clears. There's a clear green and a phthalo green, and they are different greens, and they have slightly different properties. You're gonna get different results depending on which one you use when you mix it with magenta, for instance, or yellow. Oh, I don't have any white. I have almost no white out here too. What was I doing today? You'd think that I wasn't painting, because I wasn't. I wasn't painting. I was putting together a model. So let's get a little bit of white out here. You don't need much. You don't need very much white at all. Now it's time for mixing paint. And that's always a fun thing for me. I'm going to hold my palette up here so that you can see what I'm doing. This is my orange, my purple, my magenta. My green is hidden over here. So let's start out by making brown with purple and orange. I need more purple. A little bit of magenta. You're going to throw some green in there. And you're like, why are you putting green in this? I'm making gray. So what I want is a nice dark color. I'm not using black because I feel like black is sort of a dead color. Doesn't have much life to it. Hi, Diomedes Industries. How are you tonight? How's Dio? So here's my gray, and this is a warm gray. I like this gray. Maybe we put a little bit more green in it, a little bit more magenta. Dad is playing Gloomhaven and watching Catheee. Awesome. Have fun with your Gloomhaven. I hope you guys kill all the monsters. Well, maybe not all the monsters, but most of the monsters. Just leave some for me to play with. Someday we're going to play Gloomhaven together and it will be fun. Cuz I think that would be a lot of fun. I'm making a lighter gray now. Leaving the orange out, I used purple, magenta, and green only for this lighter color. And these are about as gray as you could get. I have a light gray, I have a medium gray, I have a dark color. What are we doing with these colors? I don't remember. No, I know what we're doing with these colors. We're finishing the axe head on this guy, and there was something else I wanted to use them for, and I can't remember. Axe head and sword blades. I knew if I rotated him around enough and looked at him, I would remember. These sword blades need to be gray. So we'll start out with our medium gray. And I can add highlights later. Well, that's why I have that warm other gray that I mixed. And I want dark colors too. So actually, I need this dark color, and I'll just sort of leak some of that into my gray to make an even darker shade. And rinse my brush out right away so that the paint's not up in the ferrule where it doesn't belong. I just want this dark color on the underside here as a bit of a shadow. And then I think I'm going to just do a highlight of straight up white. Of course, on this part, I don't know if I even need to get some paint in there. Maybe I don't worry about that right now. Is that a scabbard? No, that's a sword. It's a straight up sword. There's blood groove in it. just got loose swords poking out all over the place. You know, like one does when one's barbarian. I need to reposition my camera, I think. There we go. Oh, wrong way. Up. There we go. Hey, Asmo. Asmo is reminding me to please drink water. Please, please remember to hydrate. Thank you, Asmo. Okay, okay, so there is another sword blade down here. There's two. There's one and there's another one right next to it. This is where exaggerated reflections and stuff can and stuff. That's a technical term. Stuff. You'll find it in all of the art books. I'm just trying to create this illusion that light is reflecting off of these blades. We're gonna get some reflected light right here. I'm not worrying about being super careful. I just want to get I feel like there might be a little bit of skin tone reflected on the might be a little bit of skin tone reflected on the sword hilt or sword blade. So I have a little green and some white. And mix a little of my medium color, my medium gray. Gotta keep your trophy swords shiny. Yes, it's important. That's what they are, trophy swords. So they're not the swords he actually uses. Those are just the swords of his conquered foes. I understand it now. So yeah, I'm throwing some green on this sword, like it's reflecting some of the skin of this guy. Because I think that is a good thing. Having a little bit of his surroundings reflected there. So it's not just gray, you know, it's not just shades of black and white. It's more than that. I'm going to see if I can get some of this gray on the other side of these swords. It's a very weird angle for me to try and get my brush up in here, and I'm trying not to hit the guy's arm as well. But I think I accomplished it. I think we did it. I think we did it. I think our darker gray or medium gray should actually have been a shade darker, just a little bit darker. Because I'm using that as a bit of a shadow right here. I didn't want it to be black. but I didn't want it to be as light as it was. And same for right here. I'm going to mix some water with a little bit of this white because I'm using titanium white, which is an artist color, and it's thicker than miniature paint, but oh, so much more opaque. It's so much more satisfying to use that. I want to try and get in here. There we go. So we have some highlights and some shadows. Our swords look like they're reflecting their surroundings a bit more. I want my light gray. I want that green that I made here. I could use that green up on the fur here too. A little green reflected on the back of the skull and the fur, just as it's right next to the skin, because you know that we don't always notice that happening in life, not consciously anyways, but it does happen. It does happen. I have the light reflecting off the red on my shirt onto my face right now. Garamond the Grouch, welcome in. How are you tonight? Good to see you. We're just painting an orc. Still, he's almost done. Okay, I did those swords on the back of him. Now let's do his teeth. I've got this white going here, so let's get up close and personal with his dental hygiene. I can barely see the teeth in here since they're tiny and I painted everything a dark color. They're so tiny. I'm just barely dragging the tip of the brush across the place where I think his teeth should be to bring the detail out of that texture of these teeth. If it was a bigger model, a slightly larger scale, and the teeth were bigger, I might try to use a different color and use white as a highlight and do sort of an off-white ivory bone sort of color, but his teeth are super tiny, so I feel like I need the white just to get the point across. Just to make them obvious. Because you don't want to miss the orc's teeth. It's like an intrinsic part of his personality. There. I still think those top teeth aren't standing out quite enough. Now they are. So now he's got a smile. Look at that smile. All right, so we did the swords on the back. Now we get to fiddle around with this axe head. I've been going back and forth, and that's what happens when you're painting non-metallic metal. You you do a lot of back and forth with your reflections and everything as you try and figure out where your play of light and shadows is going to be, because it's not always obvious. And as I look at this guy, I'm thinking, for instance, that this white is in the wrong place. There shouldn't be a white reflection right there. That should be dark. It's kind of the horizon line there. So that should be dark, going that direction. And then above it should be white. I need only look at the ferrule of the metal part of my paintbrush to see the play of light and shadow on surfaces that are cylindrical. And all the medium tones. There's a dark tone, there's a medium tone here. And we'll glaze that in. So it's soft, and then we'll have a hard line here, and then we'll glaze a little bit underneath it. Hmm. Still having trouble keeping my guy on camera with this overlay. Hi, Flieger Dragon. Garamond says, I think it was back in the days of early pewter, or might have been late lead, but I once sharpened a Minnie's axe, then threw a clear coat on it. Oh, yeah. I've done that. I've done that where I've just filed even in pewter, I've done that where I just filed the sword or something down to razor sharpness. That can be fun. And I'm looking at this now. Now I'm looking at this. So I don't know that there would even be white back here. It would just be dark. So we'll get some dark color on there right there. As we go back and forth, as I said, there's a lot of that in painting non-metallic metal. And I know there's a lot of people who are like, well, why don't you just use metallic paints? And there is a level of skill involved with metallic paints where I can't make it look as good as I would want it to look. Because I've been doing non-metallic metal for so long that it's, I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's just what I'm used to. So trying to paint metallic is kind of taking it a little bit out of my comfort zone, I'll be honest. And now I'm just, I want these reflections to all kind of be at the same angle. So this reflection is like this. I want them to sort of match. Then I want these down here. I'm going to have to match the ones up there too. So anything down here is going to be at that sort of angle. So you were painting miniatures back in the early lead days, Garamond? Bill Robertson. Hi, Bill. Good to see you. Asmo says V Cathy doesn't have commands in here to distract. It's sad. Yes, but Asmo, nevertheless, I did moisten. I did moisten when you used the skulls. I don't know if that's drinking from the skulls of your enemies or drinking. Yeah, I don't know. I never really thought about it. Let's see. What have we got going here? We got Cathy way off to this side. Oops, that's the wrong way. Still dialing in my camera for this new overlay. There's a little bit less of my field of everything. It's a work in progress. Garamond says, I miss paint and take. I tried to speed paint once and was not prepared. Speed paint, speed paint can be challenging. Oh, definitely. I've tried doing speed paint, but I get bogged down with painting details, and when you're speed painting, that's not what you want to be concerned with. You have to be concerned with blocking in large areas and stuff, and I get distracted by little tiny details and stuff. But yeah, paint and takes were always fun. Excuse me while I enjoy my tea. I have lemon ginger tea right now, and I wanted to drink a little of it while it's still hot. Bill says speed paints are good to just do as an exercise. That's funny because I say that all the time too, Bill. I 100% agree with that. Challenging your own self to paint a model in like under an hour or in under 2 hours or whatever, or paint a bust in under 2 hours. That does challenge you to think about things differently, and and to not take forever making all your decisions about the model. You have to make your decisions like that, and your first impulse is usually your correct one, and then you just start second guessing yourself. So if you're going to do a thing in less than 2 hours, you like, okay, whatever the first thing is, you don't have time to second guess yourself. You have to do it, or you're not going to have time. Asmo says, maybe I'll do my next one as a speed paint. The two I'm working on are going really slow. It really is a good exercise. I recommend it. Garamond says, I even threw a wash on it at the last minute. Oh, the cat. Hold on. I need to scroll up. I missed some things. Oh, yes. Then I got worried after use and repainted it because it was sharp. Or did it get dull after time? And I don't mean I mean not shiny. Like lead does, gets that dull. It can start out shiny and then get dull. Asma says you should probably stretch now too. I did miss that. I missed all the things. Stretching is important, said V. Bill Robertson says, my first minis were all lead. It wasn't a big deal until I decided to try to melt one a bit to make it into a chaos spawn. Couldn't you have just touched something hot to it to do that? You know, to make little pock marks and stuff? Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. You even threw a wash on it at the last minute. Well, washes can be good, but also they can be not good. So, yeah, it all depends. Esmo says, maybe I'll do, yeah, you do the next one, speed painting. Don't mind the wet mini. Oh, the repaint was, you were worried about it wearing off. Yeah. All right. So, so that part looks okay. So far, so good. Why is that connecting with, that's a weird coincidence that this is wrapping around like this. I feel like it shouldn't, which means I have to redo this. Because of course. Because of course, that's how non-metallic metal is. See, I've got these all blocked out, but no, I like those. So instead, we're gonna make this be light, or just make this into a something interesting. Let me put my visor down so I can see what I'm doing. I don't know how this is gonna. I don't know how this is gonna turn out here, but it could be terrible. It could be wonderful. I'm just slowly moving this. Yeah, just moving this reflection over to here. And this is just me tossing values on here and seeing what happens right now. That's all this is. Like, I wonder if I put a dark color here. What if I put it here and here? I want a hard edge along this top part. And then I want a hard edge of gray right here. And a soft edge. Or maybe I don't. Look at how that's, oh, maybe. Maybe I like it, maybe I don't. See, this is what I'm talking about with non-metallic metal. You don't like it until all of a sudden you like it. It's just how it is. Every time. Now where's that white? Right there. Right there. And then right here. Because this is a whole different shape than that part. Bill says, I was a kid. I didn't realize that once it got hot enough, it would just turn into a blob of lead, and then I was also inhaling lead fumes. My mom asked me not to do that again. Oh, Bill, could you please not do that again? Garamond says, I melted a few plastic guardsmen. I left them under a lamp to dry for too long, and they converted to casualties. They weren't kidding when they called it heavy metal. Yeah. I'm just picturing that. I don't know if I've ever melted anything on accident. Honestly, I don't think I've ever melted anything on purpose. I use green stuff for that. When I want my chaosy things, I get out the putty and I get all uh I have fun with it. Hmm. I don't know if I have any pictures. I don't know if I have any pictures of, let's see. Do I have any pictures of any of my Blood Bowl guys? Let me just look through my stuff. Nope. Nope. No such luck. I really should get those. I should get pictures of my Blood Bowl team up here. They were every single model on my Blood Bowl team I converted because the original models for Nurgle were really ugly. They were really terrible. The new models that are plastic that they have now are amazing. But back when I was playing Blood Bowl, they were these old metal ones, and it looked like they had taken the Chaos Blood Bowl team, the Beastmen, and then just got an X-Acto knife and carved away parts of them so that they would look slightly different. That's that's what the Nurgle team looked like, and I was like, oh no, no, I need to do some things to these models. And so I gouged out the metal. I drilled out eye holes. I had one where I sculpted with green stuff an eyeball hanging by the optic nerve hanging out of the eye socket, for instance. I sculpted a lot of pustules on those guys. There were a lot of pustules. It was glorious. So much fun. Asmo says I have melted a lot of things on purpose. I used to tie a string to my Hot Wheels cars and throw them in the campfire so that I could watch the wheels and the windows melt off. And then I would pull them out, just the die cast wreckage without any paint or anything left on it. Only the ones I didn't like. So you get a big box of Hot Wheels at a garage sale, which is which is where I got mine from. And so there's always ones that you don't like, you know, just ugly ones. So I used to throw them in the fire and and watch them melt. Ah, the good old days. All right, so I want to rearrange the reflection on this part too, because I feel like I did all of this like in the wrong place. So there's my white. I'm gonna go in with my gray here right next to it. Hopefully before it has too much time to dry. Not super concerned about it though. Now that one will still be interesting. So, Garamond, what were you using your miniatures for back in the day? Back in the day of the the lead minis and the speed paint and everything. What kind of games were you playing? I'm going to glaze this dark color in here. And I think I'm just going to cover up this and cover this one up completely. Then I'm going to let that dry. And we'll go back up here and we'll make sure we've got that hard dark edge. Put another little dark here. And then some light, just a little line of white. We're going back to this one up here because I had to let some things dry down there. So you want to work around the model. Just keep going around and around. Back and forth. There's some brown right there. I feel like that should be green if we want to throw a little reflected green from his hand on there. Maybe that lighter green over here in the highlight. Yeah. Maybe we need, now since I have green on my brush, maybe I want some of that in here too. I can always mix a little more. That was just the phthalo green and the orange. Put a tiny little bit of magenta in there to darken it up a little. That's too dark. Put a little white in there. Make it a little lighter. Now it's too light, of course. Now it's too light. This is this is what we do. Caramon says with every burnt Hot Wheel, a collection increases in price. Yeah, that's true. I'm actually inspired now to melt some cars for other games like Gasland. Oh, that'd be perfect for Gaslands. Oh, yes. And then you'd have the satisfaction of watching the wheels melt off, too. And then you can just have them there in your terrain as, burned out hulks of cars. I thought, I actually had thought of getting some Hot Wheels cars so that I could modify them for a game like Gasland. Garmon says I did mostly 40k using the old Rogue Trader. Oh, okay. You had some Warhammer partly for D&D. We used to play Warhammer Fantasy roleplay too back in the day, and we converted our D&D characters to Warhammer Fantasy, and oh my god, it was so much fun. I loved that world. I liked the mechanic of that game. How you had all these different careers you could choose from. It wasn't just like at the time in D&D, it was like you had 5 classes or whatever to choose from. It was almost nothing. It was just there's a lot more variety of things, and the stats were very different the way that they did things like movement and initiative and stuff. He says we like D&D around here. Yes, we absolutely we love D&D around here. Leader Dragon runs a game that I play in, which is fun. And we've played in other games. It was actually during the pandemic where we all kind of got together as a little community. I found a couple people who were miniature painters who streamed on Twitch, and they played D&D, and they had a friend who streamed that every Friday night. And so I started watching that, and then they had a Discord, and then we all started playing D&D in the Discord together. And over the last couple years, it just became this community of, you know, Twitch streamer, miniature painter, D&D player, and of course playing other role-playing games too, not just D&D. And it's been a lot of fun meeting, and then at this convention at Adepticon that was, gosh, 2 weeks ago now. I feel like it was just last weekend, but it was 2 weeks ago now. I actually got to meet some of these people in person for the first time, and that was a lot of fun. So you haven't played Blood Bowl? It's okay. It's okay. I'm not judging you. Blood Bowl is the game that got me really into miniature painting. So I have a fond place in my heart for that game, even though I haven't played it in years. And they've gone through a bunch of different rules revisions since then. I'm trying to get a little bit of a highlight on that one part of the axe there. But let's return to this area down here where I wanted to erase that highlight and put a shadow in instead. Right there. Told you we were going to change everything around. But it really wants to be light, so I'm going to lay it on thick. Laying it on thick right there. Oh, it just looks so stripy right now. You're a game designer dropout for now, also a bit of a collector for reasons. For reasons. You're supposed to start DMing for a Forever DM and Friends soon, but it's been since 3.5 that I have. Well, uh, when I made the transition from playing in my friend's 3.5 game to playing in a 5th ed game, there was a small period of adjustment, but it seems like 5th edition is a bit less complex. I only know that after having played 5th edition for like 3 or 4 years and then going back to a mechanic where you had to deal with all these different million different skills, and we went to make characters for a game, and I was like, oh my god, this is so complex. I don't understand any of this. Why is this so hard? Because I got used to that. They kind of streamlined it. I mean, some people might say they dumbed it down a little bit, but honestly, I feel like needlessly complex is also kind of a way to be dumb about it. That being said, I did like the way that you had the point buy, not the point buy. So you had skill points that you could spend every time you leveled up. You got so many skill points based on your intelligence or whatever back in 3.5, and you could apply them to skills that were cross class of your own. So I had a wizard who had escape artist and rope use, because you know how people always try to immobilize the wizard so they can't use their hands. So I thought it would be really handy for him if he could get out of things so that he could still cast spells with his gestures. And I was able to do that in 3.5, but in 5th edition, you don't really get to do that. You don't get to, there's not as much versatility in that way, which made me a little sad. Which, so yeah, in a way, still sad about that. Why is this so stripy? I don't like it. I'm going to paint over it. Just don't like it. Why is it when you do that, you just paint over it? Oh, I don't like it. I'm just going to paint over that. Wow, that kind of fixed it. I feel better about it now, weirdly. Apparently that's all I needed. Not all. We'll wait for it to dry. We'll look at the bottom part here. Speaking of where we want to glaze it underneath here. What's going on underneath here? What's going to reflect this light? Uh, that's too stripy again. So I'm going to fix that. Yeah, let's don't like what's going on here. What is going on here? What am I doing down here? I tell you, sometimes it's good to have those weird reflections, those lines, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Sometimes you just have to do something else. Like that. So we're going to let that dry a little bit and work on the top now that the top part is dry again. Keep on layering on things for the perspective. Anytime. We could talk about D&D for days. It's been around for almost as long as I've been alive. My brother got his first D&D books from his paper out money when we were kids, and there was no going back. So are you Garamond the Grouch because Garamond is your favorite font? I feel like I should know what Garamond is, but it seems like the font, Garamond. Your brother got you into it too? Brothers are like that. I just remember I remember looking through the monster manual when he got that. It's a kaiju from Ultra Q. Okay, then I don't know why it looks familiar because I've never watched that. I am not cool enough. I'm not cool enough for the anime crowd. Although I did watch my first anime this summer ever. And a friend of mine just sent me his old DVDs of Cowboy Bebop, so that I can watch those this summer. It'll be my summer anime crash course. I'm looking forward to it. Garamond says Bebop is good. Two grumps make a something or other. Oh, Muppet. Wait, Muppets? Muppets? We were just talking about Muppets because on my Friday reading stream that I do on my own channel, Cathy Wappel, I do a reading stream every Friday where I read out loud early fiction of the early 1900s. And this Friday, I'm going to read Treasure Island, and Bleeger Dragon right there in the chat said, "But what if you do it with Muppet voices for all the characters?" And I'm like, "Oh, thanks for the follow." And I'm like, I my skill level for doing voices is not high enough for me to do Muppet characters for all the Treasure Island characters. Mizzy said to convince me to do Muppets. Of course she did. Of course she did. I don't have time to watch Muppet Treasure Island before Friday. So I feel like that is something that might have to evolve as I read it because I don't feel like I can read it in 1 2 hour stream. All right, how are we doing here on this? I kind of like how things are going here, but I also feel like I need I need a little reflection here where it's reflecting off of that other part of the axe. So I just want a little something down here. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. You see what I mean right there? How this is playing off of that surface. But also I need something for this surface cuz what's happening on this surface? Nothing. I don't think you can even see what I'm doing. I think his antlered head is in the way. All right. What about this stuff down here? What about this stuff? There should be a shadow right here. Yes. But should there be a highlight? Should there be a midtone? Yeah. Let's let's apply that darker color again. If I put this dark color on top of this dark color, it's gonna make it look even darker. That's one of the properties of the Reaper clear paints that I like, is they are translucent when you first put them on the model, but as you build up the layers, you build up the opacity, which means that your dark colors are going to look more dark as you add layers to them, like this, or like this. And what if I get a little gray line right here? There we go. So we needed that too. We are progressing. We're progressing on this. Take care, Garamond. Have a good night. Not so secretly wants to be a puppeteer. Oh my gosh, look. Wait, you're probably gone already. You know. Wait. That's my puppet, and I'm terrible at making the mouth move, and I'm not a ventriloquist at all. But that's my puppet. Also, like, you can see my hand waving the. My hand is totally waving the hand. There's no mystery here. But yeah, we have puppets. Wow, we're going off on all the tangents tonight. This is good. This is a good thing. This is why we do this. Maybe we need a little more white reflection right here. I just want to do a few little tiny bits of straight up white. And this is that titanium white I was talking about, where it's thick and it's opaque, and it's so much better than just miniature paint white for whatever reason. It's just more highly pigmented and denser. So when you use it, you really know you're using it. I want to use some of this white on the little scratches on the blade too. Just a few little tiny suggestions of scratches. Maybe here I want to put some of this white too. And we're going to do an edge highlight here. We'll use the side of the bristles right along the edge of this. To just highlight the edges. And we'll do it on the underside too. I still don't know what I want to do with my, I feel like I need a little bit lighter thing there. A little bit of white and a little bit of gray mixed together to make a really light gray. And then I'm just going to do some brush strokes. Tiny little brush strokes. All in the same direction. To give that sort of illusion of texture. Maybe I can mimic this thing on the top down here and get it to do what I want and not hate it. And then we'll go in with that darker color and glaze that over a few of the areas. And that's just going to soften the transitions between our lights and darks here. It's going to soften that. I do want that hard line of dark right there, right at the edge of this. Alright, I feel like I don't want to mess around with that anymore. Although the top part, no, you know what, maybe I should just leave that alone too. The underside, the top part, maybe I just stop messing around with the axe head and we move on to the antlers. So we did the swords. We still need to do the sword hilts though. So swords we did. Although they still look a little rough to me. Maybe they just always will. We're in a weird position. I think there might be a mold line going through them right there, and that's why they look extra weird. So I'm going to just put some white highlights on this part of these sword hilts for now. And then we're going to go and glaze yellow over them. And we're going to thin it down. Well, or maybe first I do what I did earlier today when I was making a brown, a dark brown, Basically, it's the same color I've just been using, only without the green, so that I could use to do a gold. I had so this model. There's a bunch of areas where she's wearing gold, so she has gold all on this uh, bodice and all these jewelry, all these bracelets that she's wearing, and she has these little cuffs on her ankle pants, and then this headdress. So I made it brown so that when I go over it again with my brush with some white, I can pick out all these little, there's a ton of different little textures on there that you really can't see right now. But I'll be able to pick those out. And that's what I want to do on these sword hilts. I just noticed that there's these textures on this. So we're gonna put some shadows in here first. Honestly, I think I'm just gonna paint that darker. And those are already sort of a reddish color. Because I might have just using some red color at some point. And I put it on the sword hilt. I don't remember why I had red on my palette like that. It was magenta something. Because I haven't used red on this model at all. I could have made that same dark color I used for the axe head. But this is for the gold, so I wanted it to be more brown. Because the darkest parts of a gold are not black. They're a dark brown. Well, there isn't really any black on this axe head, sword head, axe head. But while I have this brown going, how about we shade the axe, the handle? Because we haven't really done that at all. I haven't really paid any attention to the axe handle at all. It's just the primer. That was the original primer color on this guy. It's one of those things that's easy to forget. I think we all have different things that we focus on uh, first as priorities when we're painting models, and that wasn't one of the things for me, apparently. Also, there's this metal belt thing that he's got happening here, and that hasn't been painted at all either. That's also just the primer because we're on top of this. I thought I was going to be just putting finishing touches on this guy and that I would be working on the Elf Ranger already on this stream. I was wrong. So wrong. You know, I probably could use this color in the moose antlers too. So yeah, let's take a look at these. I love that there's all this these scrolly designs that are like carved into these antlers. I just think that's such a cool idea. I don't want to fill in any of them either, so I'm trying to just be careful about it. Which means I have to hold my breath, which means I can't talk. Yes. Sort of bringing out that pattern a little bit more. Then I wanted to shade that. It'd be great if I could get a point on my brush. It's an old brush. It possibly needs replacing. Especially since I've been mixing paints with it, and mixing paints with a brush, while it seems like that would be a normal and good thing, uh, it really ruins your brush. That is why I have one dedicated brush that I use for mixing paints generally. Uh, and it is a crappy brush that's already been ruined. So I need to maybe retire this brush and it will go to work on the paint mixing farm. Send him out to pasture. All right, now the other side. I really do need to stretch. We'll get to the underside. The underside of most things is generally darker because usually that's the opposite side of where your light source is coming from. Assuming your light source is, maybe the sky or something. It's always going to be sort of overhead. So I'm doing a little bit of edge highlighting where I have this color on my brush, but the theory is maybe my brush is too wet. The theory is that it picks up all the ridges, and then anything in the recesses it just leaves there. Sort of dry brushing almost. Although I don't think I'll do it on this side. It works. I don't think I'll do it on this side because I noticed that the horns or the antler on that side, the designs that are carved into it down at the bottom, sort of, they're a little not as well defined on this. So I know there's a curly Q sort of thing here, but it's way harder to see it. And I don't know if that was the cast or if that was just, the way that I started out painting this. I can't tell. Because when I started out painting this, I didn't even realize that there was any fun, scrolly designs in it. We're going to try and do that. A little bit of a dry brush over this too. That's not too bad. There's still definitely those lines there. Not on the inside, they're definitely better. They're easier to notice. I also kind of want to do a straight up white stippling, which is tiny little dots on the fur on this guy, like up here on his hat. I'm just jabbing some little dots in there on the top part as a highlight. And that's where the light is hitting the fur the most concentrated right there. So we're just doing this little extra highlight there. We're gonna do that on this fur too. And then on his boot fur a little bit. I don't want to overdo it on this because it's farther down on his legs. It's just not going to catch the light as much. But just a little. Ooh, and this too. And of course, the top of his bracers. So that just defines that better. And there's still the shading. Just adds a little more depth to the model to do something like that. Alright, so antlers are done. Except for maybe I need a lighter brown, tan. Tan color for the ends of these antlers. Yeah, I think I needed that. So the antlers are done. Okay, so the axe haft, we'll return to that. We'll return to that axe haft. I'm gonna get that shadow in there, so I'm gonna put another layer of my dark color in there. And I'm just watered it down a bit. I'm just putting it on the edge. And by the edge, I just mean the part that's not facing straight up. Is not facing straight up at the sky. It's so hard to get my brush down into this little area here between his hand and anything that's going on in this tiny little area. Trying not to get it on the fur or any other part of it. No, green is going to just make that green. There we go. We just wanted a little orange in there, I think. Or a little magenta. What it really wants is maybe a little yellow. Maybe? Does it want yellow? I don't have any yellow out here. So I got a little yellow on my palette. I haven't used a ton of yellow. I think in the skin I used yellow more. I'm trying to get a sort of axe wood color, axe handle color for a highlight. I'm just going to use the side of the bristles to throw this highlight on here because there is some wood grain texture sculpted into this. You want to take advantage of that. So we have all these different browns here, but we've used the same colors to get them all. And I need to use my metals here. My metals, I say, but it's not metal. Need to mix that dark color again. Because I still have the lightest gray. So I need this color for his belt buckle, which I, you know, completely forgot about. Forgot the fact that it existed. So you definitely need to put some gray on that. We have some mid-tone gray. We're going to get that lighter gray down towards the bottom because it's reflecting from underneath. And then we're going to have that white on the top. Oof, it's hard to get the brush in there at any angle. Oof, just jammed my brush onto this, and I'm amazed that I didn't get a transfer of paint there, where I hit the antler with my brush. Yay, thank goodness. That would have been unfortunate. And so, just trying to shade this thing where I can't even see what I'm doing because my light reflects off of it. It casts shadow. It doesn't reflect off of it. My light is shining and casting shadows on it is what's happening. And that makes it an extra bit of a challenge, I have to say. I feel like my highlight should be going out because it's concave. And my dark should be, there should be this curve here. Not that anyone can see it. I can't see it. I'm basically just shoving my brush in there and hoping that it hits the right surface. And sometimes that's all you can do. I think we got that. Maybe I need a little bit of a white edge highlight on it though. On the edge of, what did I just hit now? There we go. Just having a heck of a time getting my brush in there. To hit that, but I did it. I got it. We did it. Now there's this crazy little scrolly design on the belt, so I thought I would just get that where you can see it. The other side is basically underneath where the axe is, so maybe I'll jam some of this dark color under there as a shadow, since it's all in shadow anyways. And we'll call that because there's really not more that we can do with that part. Are we done? Bullwinkle? Are we done? Did we finish? Bullwinkle says, just do a little bit of shadows around my hands on the axe handles, please. Okay. I don't know why you said that. No, I do. It helps the hands to stand out. It may not be necessarily what would actually be there, but when you're painting models at this scale, sometimes, what's actually there and what you should add are two different things if you want people to really notice the details in what you're doing and how it's going to look sitting on a tabletop. And for that, sometimes adding a little shadow around where the hands are holding the axe is going to make the hands stand out a little more. We never did get that white out on the hilt of this, and then the yellow. So we'll just go ahead and try and get that done right away, real quick. And then we may have actually finished this guy today. I don't know what, there's like one really crazy looking sword thing here. I'm not sure exactly what that's supposed to be. It's some weird shapes on it. I have no idea what it's supposed to be. I can't even describe it. And it doesn't even look like a sword hilt. Maybe it's not a sword hilt. Maybe it's something different. So just adding a few little reflections now on some of these details. Just hitting some areas where I feel like the light would be landing. I don't know if it would be. I'm just imagining that's where it would be landing. Like across these little ridges on this. And now I'm using the side of the bristles again just to try and hit that texture without, going into the cracks. So now I'm going to just take some yellow. Actually, I'm going to slide over here for a moment and go to my Casandora yellow shade. This is one of the Citadel washes, Casandora yellow. And I'm just gonna, this is a clear, intense color. I'm just gonna paint it over those hilts. So I did brown, I did some highlights on here, and now I'm just gonna brush this yellow on and we'll see what happens. Yeah, okay. That's what I was hoping for. It just made it nice and warm and yellow. And that's what I wanted. Now I can go in with some light colors again, with a little bit of white. But overall, I think we got it. Let's see, I have yellow here, so I can mix some yellow with white for a little bit of color underneath here. So I could still do a little bit more if I wanted to. I have a mid-tone color. Sort of a, I don't know why my yellow is so watery. I might have spilled water into that. There's my shade I was trying for. So we have gold sword hilts. Sure, I was out of focus that whole time. Sorry about that. So we have gold sword hilts. We have on his trophy swords. We have axe head. We have the antlers shaded. We have the axe handle done. And so I think he's done. I think he's done. And so next week we'll be focusing on our Dark Elf Ranger. Hey, Miyabi. Miyabi says, I didn't get to watch Cathy paint earlier, but I get to now. Miyabi! Miyabi, this is the end of my stream again. I miss you in Cathy Paints on Cathy Wappel, uh, twitch.tv/Cathy Wappel. But I'll be back tomorrow. You got a bit. You got a bit. I'm doing this every Tuesday night, Miyabi, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central. So 7 to 9. I'm here on Tuesdays. So now you know. And thank you everybody for hanging out with me while I paint miniatures. It's really fun for me to share my process. Asmodeus Soulpire says, I painted while you painted. Excellent. Excellent. And he said moist. And so I'm going to drink some water. Once again, thank you everybody. I appreciate your support. Gen Con TV appreciates your support too. And I will be back on next Tuesday for more Cathy Paints on Gen Con TV. Now I'm going to find my thanks for watching. Because I'm a pro streamer.